So my name is Baer, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the gift of reading. So probably you guys know I'm a big reader, but that never really used to be the case with me, especially in elementary school. So in elementary school, I'd be put in a group with a bunch of different kids, and we'd all have to do a group read. Thing was, I was a really slow reader, so I fell behind pretty quickly. I try and skim the book and totally not get the gist of the story at all. So basically, wouldn't be able to answer any questions. Totally fine, but it can kind of affect your grade pretty quickly. So I didn't really like reading at all in elementary school. It didn't really change until middle school. A friend of mine actually gave me a book and she's like, you need to read this. First I was like, no. But, after a while I was like, you know what, why not? And so I was reading it, and I actually kind of liked it, which is really weird because I never liked reading books at all, didn't really care about any of the characters, but I actually did this time. And I ended up reading it in about a month, which sounds like a really long time, but for someone who used to read books in like a year's span, it's pretty short. So I felt a really big sense of accomplishment, actually getting through a book pretty quickly in my perspective, and I wanted to keep doing that because, I felt like I was progressing. So throughout the entire middle school year, this was about 7th grade, I was just reading and reading and reading. And I didn't notice it at the time, but my writing skills started to improve. My teacher, my language arts teacher at the time, actually kind of got me to notice it. She pulled me aside and said, hey, your writing style kind of is improving, like what's going on? And I didn't know. I said, I don't know. And I remember this is the only thing I really remember in middle school, honestly, but she looked behind me at my desk and there was a book on it, and she says, well, how long have you been reading? And I said, well, I just started this year. And she points at the book and says, well, that's what's up. That's exactly why you're doing that. And that kind of just stuck with me throughout high school. I'm now a pretty avid reader, and writing has become something that I really don't hate. I actually kind of like doing so. So I wanted to incorporate that into my senior seminar project. So what I did was I researched the benefits of independent reading as opposed to assigned reading, because I really do understand what the benefits are. And those benefits would be better vocabulary, better writing skills, more creativity, and a better understanding of social behaviors. Kind of basic stuff, right? I understand that reading isn't for everybody. A lot of people can get by without reading. It's just dependent on the person. But most people do find some benefits into reading because it is just so easy to do. You don't really have to think about, oh, what have I learned from this book? You kind of just know. Yeah, that's just a great thing about that. Another great thing is that our society actually, we have books to read. We have a choice to read as well. So some people can be avid readers, some people just don't read, and it works for everybody pretty much. But that's not always the case in some other societies where they don't have the money for books. In the U.S., students don't really, in a good majority of the U.S., students actually don't get a good, I want to say like a good experience when it comes to school funding. In the U.S., 34% of children entering kindergarten lack the basic skills needed to learn about how to read. 63% of fourth graders read below grade level, which contributes to about 8,000 students dropping out of high school every day. And 37% of students graduate high school at or above reading proficiency. Only 37%. So just a little bit more than a third of the students that graduate. And that accounts for the entirety of America. So look at this graph right here. You can't really see any of the numbers, but you don't really need to. So on the left, you have an average reading score of fourth graders living in low-income families by state, and on the right, higher income families. Dark blue represents a below basic score. Baby blue is basic, sky blue is proficient, and then the very light blue is advanced. You can kind of see that in the low-income graph, you have a big majority of the students scoring below basic scores, whereas not so much in the high income. So it really does contribute to how a student can kind of perform on a test basis level. And it's not because these students don't care about what they're learning, not because they're not smart, it's just because they don't have the resources they need to actually do well or do better than people who have those resources. So how can students be expected to read well when they have little to no practice, like they have no books? So in order to counteract the problem, several groups such as the First Book, Reach Out and Read, and Reading is Fundamental have dedicated their services to providing books to children in need. I especially like the Reach Out and Read, which gives books to hospitals and doctor's offices for children to read. And it sets kind of an environment that kind of correlates reading books to your general welfare, and it can teach parents who would otherwise kind of take out the value of reading, and it teaches them to their children. Taking example from these books, I decided to do something very similar with my own group project. I organized a book drive for the American Dream, American Studies, and World Studies classrooms, as well as the after-school program at the Dunbar Elementary School. In 1 month, I've succeeded in collecting 131 books from our community, and next week we'll deliver these books to those programs. It might not be much, but with my project, I gave 50 students from the after-school program a choice to read. They didn't have any books before then, so now they can read if they want to. I give them a choice. So it really isn't much, but they have a choice. And so my message for you guys is, even though you don't have to do much, it's just 100 books and then some, but you can really start to give people kind of an understanding of a different way to learn and a different way to help in a community, because all you have to do is just donate one book to help 10 kids who would read that book. Any questions? Oh, sorry, before I do that, there's a good quote right here. Reading should not be presented to children as a chore, a duty. It should be offered as a gift. You're giving someone the gift of learning through books, gift of entertainment. Any questions?
Nice! Come on, kids. You guys are so awesome. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right there with you.
You nailed it. I made a joke, and I heard you laughing, and I was like, rude. I'm just kidding.
Oh my word. So, let's see, gotta off.